Here is a quick look at this project that I've been working on for about 2 weeks. This is an idea I had for building a speaker box enclosure for the back of the ARRMA Felony. So, just to jump into this, these two little speakers here, these are 1.5 inches big, and they came from a Bluetooth speaker box called the Magic Box. And there's two different versions. There's a 1 and a 2. And out of that Magic Box, this is where I got the Bluetooth receiver board, which is also amplified up to 10 watts. And these speakers are 10 watts. And the battery that comes with it, it's under there. It's compacted, secured. Now, however, I'm not going to be able to use these speakers because they don't have any screws for mounting. They just have a 2mm lip for a mounting surface, and I'm not going to glue speakers down onto this project. So what I ended up doing is I bought this JVC or JBL, is it JBL Jump 4 or whatever it's called. I bought it off of the internet, not working or just with some problems, just so I can get these speakers out of it, because these speakers have a frame with holes in it that I can mount on here. So all I'm doing is just making my outlines before I drill anything. So these speakers are going to be countersunk onto the trunk of the actual body. This speaker box that is made of expanded PVC foam. It's $10 a board. This is 1/8 inch thick. I also purchased 1/4 inch thick, but I ended up going with this one because it was good enough. And this is light and it's really strong, and I did this using just Zap glue, which is a hobby grade glue for gluing the rubber tires onto the wheels. I meant to just tack this with glue to hold it in place, and then I would ultimately use epoxy, but the glue worked so well, it was so strong that I just ended up just using glue to do it. It is really strong. There's no need to use epoxy. I'm being honest about it. So I don't need that right now. So there's another look. This is the PVC expanded foam. And get this thing to focus on it now. This is what it is. Let me see something. Now I'm guessing this can get wet. It's not gonna get soggy or anything like that. Now it's got this clear protective film that you peel off, you know, when you're done working with it, but only one side has it. The other side doesn't have it. And you can leave impressions in it with your fingernail. Okay, so, but for this project, it's exactly what I intended to use. That's all I need it for. And this is going to be epoxied to the body. Let me see. This is the auxiliary input, your charging port, and the power switch, which I decided to leave the switch out and just use a toothpick to turn this off and on. I just decided to leave it like that. It looked ugly with the switch flush mounted on it. So, right where these little rubber studs are for the body clips, this sits right over it, just right over front of it. And then right up against this edge here. This goes, I'm just gonna epoxy that down. And the only other thing I thought about, because I'm either gonna epoxy this down or I'm gonna use double-sided tape and stick it, but I know that's not gonna hold it. But I'm thinking double-sided tape so that this doesn't vibrate on the body, for the fact that the other idea I had, whether I go with these speakers or these, is to epoxy a long threaded metal screw, and once these go through the body, the screw's going to be long enough to where it comes out. I'm gonna drill holes here obviously too, right? So when this goes flush mount onto the trunk of the car, the threaded screw sticks out through here, or the bolt, I guess you want to call it a bolt, not a screw, and then drop a washer with a butterfly nut and tighten it to where the box is being held onto the body, you know, via the back of the speaker, you know, just sandwiched in like that. So I kind of like that idea, but this is already almost half a pound. You know, this together with these two speakers, you know, the receiver, the battery that's in there, and then these two sides. This is everything. This is the entire design. This will play and do its job. This is about half a pound, maybe 3/4 of a pound. And I think the most heaviest part of these speakers, they're small, but they are heavy, man. Speakers, one speaker weighs about as much as a stick of butter. That's how heavy these are. These are only a little bit lighter. They're not that much lighter. These are like a tablespoon lighter than these if we're using butter to compare. A stick of butter, so. I'm about to just drill here. I'm gonna use a multi-bit. I have a multi-bit that the largest size is only one size too short. It's just a little bit bigger. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna open up the hole the rest of the way with sandpaper. I'm gonna wrap sandpaper around the multi-bit and just go at it with the drill and just open it up gradually the rest of the way. So just wanted to do a little video because I haven't done too many videos on this, you know. Obviously I'm gonna do lots of content once this is done, and I'm gonna, you know, explain more and show how it works and stuff, but wanted to at least make some prior videos, you know, what I went through to get it done, because once this is put together and it's glued down or whatever it is, I'm not gonna open it to show what I did. So all right, let me get back to work. Catch up with you guys later. All right, I'm just doing another video on this project that I've been working on for about 2 weeks to make a speaker box enclosure for the back of the ARRMA Felony. This is going to be the box here. I'll show you how that is going to be mounted in a second. Now I found out on eBay you can buy small little Bluetooth receiver boards, and some of them are also amplified. You know, some of these are just a small little amplifier board with auxiliary input, and some of them are just a wireless Bluetooth receiver, and others are a combination of both, where it's a Bluetooth receiver and it's amplified, which is what you get in something like this. Okay, which that's where these speakers came from, by the way. I bought this used so that I could use it for parts. These, along with this amplifier board right here, came from a Bluetooth speaker box called the Magic Box, and the casing was pretty much this. It was small and solid, and it came with these speakers, and it came with this Bluetooth amplifier board and the battery that you see underneath that it's installed in there. Nothing goes anywhere. So I'll tell you how I got the idea for this. Now, I have this siren. It's a police siren, and it's got like 5 or 3 different sounds. You know, you push a button, it goes wee wee wee, and the speaker that it comes with is a small speaker. It's 3 watts. It's not that loud, so I figured maybe I can change the speaker. Then I figured this is going to need to be amplified with more watts, and then I thought of this, and now I just ended up doing a whole like a speaker box enclosure for this. So the reason I want to use these JBL speakers is because it has a frame around it to where I can run screws down and bolt it down to the body, versus these do not. They just have a lip. I guess this is, you know, the mating surface, but it's like a millimeter, you know, it's no more than 2 millimeters, and it's gonna have to go glued down, and I'm not gonna introduce glue and stuff like that. The other idea that I had was to get a long threaded bolt, you know, sand this down and epoxy a long threaded bolt to the back of each one of these speakers. I have the hole so I can, you know, drop these in. These drop in with the long threaded bolt that's coming off. This goes inside the body upwards like this, along with these sides, which are gonna go glued on here ultimately, right? Goes up inside, and there's gonna be a hole drilled here to where the threaded bolt can stick out through the bottom end, and then with a washer and a butterfly screw, I would tighten this, and that's what would hold the box up, and it would be pulling the speakers down, and it'd be sandwiched in there, and it'll be fine. But I probably get vibrations if I don't put like a thin strip of like foam tape or double-sided tape, which is, it'll be fine at that point. You know, I thought about it, but then I figured it's going to be added weight for the hardware, for the long threaded bolts and the washers and the butterfly screws, and plus the mating surface isn't all that much, and as I tighten it, it's going to be pulling the trunk down, right? It's going to be pulling it down, and it's going to get like that concave indentation. But if I would have done the same technique with something like this, the area is much wider, and it's not going to make that impression like the speaker's getting, you know, pulled down into the trunk, because this is plastic and flexible. But I still didn't want the extra weight, and I weighed all this. I didn't weigh it. I don't have a small scale. I'm not gonna put it. I know this is probably about like half a pound altogether. It can't be more than a pound. So I figured, what the heck, you know, I have 2 other Felony bodies that are brand new. I haven't even opened them or painted them yet. So how am I ever gonna do that if I don't experiment and do things? So just wanted to do this video because a lot of times, you know, I'll do the coolest things and all I have is an after. I don't have a before. You know, it's easier to do pictures. I have pictures of this, but to do a video, I lack. So this is how the box goes. This part faces to the front, and these little studs here that are for the body pins, this piece actually goes just right in front of them. Goes right in front of them. So when this gets epoxy down, epoxy along here, epoxy along there, and with these insides go on, you know, these insides go on, they go epoxied as well. Obviously these speaker wires, you're gonna come out through the speaker hole that I'm about to do right now. You know, and that's that. Everything is stationary. It's got the battery, the Bluetooth board in there, and it's amplified, and I can control everything with my phone. And that's it. And this is going to be attached to the body. When the body comes off, this comes off with the body. Just like that. And it's about half a pound. But, you know, I figured that's going to be sitting in this compartment here, this whole area. Half a pound kind of sounds like a lot of weight. It's probably going to make the back of the car slide around a little bit. Well, it may or it may not. It might actually need, it might be able to use some weight back here, because I noticed after installing this aluminum lip with this heavy duty impact bar and these little lights here, which is a little bit, but it all adds up, right? All this weight adds up. And these side skirts over here, last time I drove it, I noticed it was a little squirrely. It was kind of just like, you know, like I could feel the weight, and I could feel that most of the weight was planted in the front. It was giving the front a little bit more traction. It was letting the back slide around a little bit. So the fact that I have all this extra weight added on it, this half a pound way back here, it might help, man. It may or may not. Now, if it makes driving worse, I won't be able to go, 60, 80 miles an hour, but I'm not going to want to do that with that speaker box on here anyway. I'm not going to want to do that anyway, so it doesn't matter. I got 2 other bodies and a whole another set of brand new tires to do other stuff, so I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to experiment anyway, man, I've only driven this car not even 3 times. I drove it 2.5 times since I got it because the tires, they go balls so quick, and this car is not easy to drive. I have other RC cars that are much easier to drive than this, and it's not because they're slow. I have other cars that are just as quick, and they're a lot easier to handle. This thing slides everywhere, so I'm gonna drop this video off here because I don't have equipment to set my camera up while I do all this stuff, unless I set it up and make a second video. So let's see what happens. All right, I didn't take too much footage of this project that I've been working on. Been working on it for maybe 2 weeks now. These are some JBL speakers that I have from a Flip 4 that I bought used on OfferUp, and these are some other speakers that came off of a Bluetooth speaker box called the Magic Box, and there's 2 different versions of them. There's the Magic Box and the Magic Box 2, to where they came up with 10-watt speakers. These almost weigh identical. These are just a little bit heavier. It could be because of the frame that it has. Now, this is a Bluetooth amplifier. This is what was inside of the Magic Box that had these speakers. This is one of these. So this is the beginning stages of the speaker box that I'm building for the ARRMA Felony. Now, this isn't going to be installed on the chassis part. It's actually going to be installed on this portion. It's going to be glued from the bottom up, and I'm going to have these holes cut out for the speakers. And this square panel, which is the trunk lid, is going to be serving as the top panel for the speaker box. And when it's all set in place, when you lift up the body, this comes up with the body. It's going to be permanent to the body. And when you drop it in, This comes in and it's gonna sit in here like this. Okay. This sits in here like this. Let's see what I can. It's gonna look like this. Actually, like that. That's the exact angle right here. It's gonna be flush up against this here, and it is at an angle. Now I can make this straight if I wanted to, but I would have to make this shorter. See, because it goes up on this rail here. In order to get this to be more symmetrical, I'd have to make this bottom panel shorter so that it can kind of rest and straighten out. But this one still has to be at that angle. This has to be at that angle. Now, if I was to make this a perfect square, what's gonna happen is the way it is right now, this piece slides up inside this wing. It fits in here. For me to make this symmetrical, this piece would be right up against this line, but the problem is the speakers that I'm using, they're 1.5 inch and they're pretty small. Okay, so they're 1.5 inch and they're fine, but I ordered 1 3/4 inch speakers, and I also want to be able to put 2-inch speakers here in the future. And I also want to share, maybe make a couple dollars, or maybe I'll just, share it for free anyways, the blueprint for this. And I want it to be large enough so that other people that are gonna build this box, they can use 2-inch speakers. And this is exactly 2 inches from this line here. This is 2 inches. And some of these 2-inch speakers, they have really large magnets. This is small compared to how beefy some of these smaller speakers can be. And if this panel here, rather than being at an angle, if it was going straight up and it meets here and it's going straight down, you might not be able to fit a larger speaker in there because the magnet or the basket, which is the frame, is going to be hitting the wall. So by making the speaker box, the panels flare out this way like a V, you can fit as large of a speaker as you want in here. Now, like I said, if I made this lower panel smaller to where it can just slide like this to be flat, then that means the speaker box is going to come down to a smaller taper. And I don't want that. I want a big box. So these are equal dimensions. This one and this one, they're identical. And the next one that comes up, this wall here, is also going to be identical. All three of these are identical. The only fabrication that I'm going to have to do is this panel isn't flat. It's got a bow to it. Okay, so this can stay straight because it's going to get tucked in here, and it's going to let me put a lot of epoxy and get a good grip on it. This one here, I'm going to have to sand it and give it a taper just like this has, because this is going to be glued to the surface just like this. But this is 1/8 inch thickness, and I have and I have another one that's a 1/4 inch thickness, which would be this thick here. I have another board that's twice as thick. So if I need to resort to it, I can use it. This cardboard stencil that I have here, it's temporary, and I'm using this quick glue. This is just to tack it down where I need it so I can do measurements, and I'm not gonna glue anything to have to break it and make a correction. So I'm using cardboard, to hold this in. If this is the angle that I want, when I test it later and everything still fits, I'll use the 2-part epoxy here and here, snap these off and then epoxy it all ultimately. I am going to epoxy it, all the way around when I'm ultimately done with it. And I am going to do something like this, some reinforcements, but I'm going to do it out of the same stuff. Do some reinforcements like that. I'm going to do them, everywhere so that it doesn't vibrate, it's solid and it's strong and it has integrity. And although this edge is going to be glued to the surface of the inside of the body like this, you know, to have more surface contact, I can probably cut strips of this same one and just stack them up, you know, like I have here. Stack them up, you know, have it filed and stuff, and so I can get more of a contact. I'll probably cut some of the 1/4 inch and put a fat block, you know, glue it in there to where it'll look like this, but it'll be a solid block. You know, it'll be solid, like as wide as this is. Like if this is, you know, 4 millimeters, it'll be 4 millimeters by 4 millimeters, as opposed to 4 millimeters by 2. It'll be 4 by 4. Glue that puppy down like that. You know, glue that puppy like that so I get some good surface. And the thing is, once this is sanded and it has that curve like this, when I go to put this on here, this is flexible, you know? So I'll be able to flex it with the same curvature it's gonna have, but I'm gonna have a nice wide surface for gluing that sucker on there. And then these holes are gonna be cut out, and this is where I put speakers in and out. The only thing I don't like is that these came off of something else, but you know, this glue is really hard to get off, and taking off the glue is gonna damage this cardboard ring. There's a cardboard ring that surrounds it. And I don't want to glue these in or glue anything in. I want to be able to screw them in and screw them out. The ones I ordered, I can screw them in and out. These I can't. I'm just gonna put them more towards the center so that when I get my larger speakers in, all I gotta do is open the hole a little more, but I'm not too close to the edge to where the frame crosses over. Because these other ones that you can screw them down, they're round, but they have a square frame and they have a hole in each corner. So I'm not gonna mount this too close like this. I'm gonna mount it far enough away, and they should have been here by now, and then I get an eBay notification telling me that I'm not gonna get it till the end of August, which is 6 weeks. So I'm gonna use these in the meantime. And I have a wireless Bluetooth device. It's self-amplified. It's gonna be pushing all of this, you know, battery and all that stuff. So it's gonna be really cool. So a lot of times I don't even video the things that I'm doing. I'll just show it at the end, but you know, things come out looking so cool and everybody's got so many questions and I don't have proof of what I did. So I'm doing this video because I think this is gonna be cool. And it's gonna be the first one of a kind. Nobody's done an actual speaker box installation that's built into a hobby car that actually is loud and sounds good. I've seen them on the, you know, hydraulic cars, and they got, you know, like those 3-watt speakers, and it got like 20 of them, but they're still not loud. This is actually loud. And the fact that it's using this top panel is gonna resonate. It's gonna be really loud. The shell's gonna resonate like a speaker, so see how this comes out.